Cool. Natalie, do you want to guide us through the agenda, please?
Yeah, well, I guess we can start with introductions. I see we've got maybe a couple new people on today. My name's Natalie. I'm part of the Kansas City Healthy Lifestyles Collaborative. Work with Robin and Shelley on this call, and I will be supporting the sports sector going forward. I'll pop over to Shelley, I guess.
I just finished my lunch. I'm Shelley Summer. I manage the KC Healthy Lifestyles Collaborative program at Children's Mercy and support a few of the other sectors related to the physical activity plan.
Shelley, your hair looks beautiful. I love it.
Well, thanks, Bill. I can't believe you noticed anything different. That's
Are you kidding me? You
I
look
tried.
great.
Still trying to get used to it.
I love it.
Trying to look like I'm, 35 again.
It definitely it makes you look 29, so it's working.
I'll propose one addition to the introductions. Tell us what the Super Bowl plans are for everyone. So Natalie, quickly, what's your plan? Do you have-
We're going to some family friends. They're having like a barn viewing party.
Barn viewing, cool.
Awesome.
Shelley,
We are having a neighborhood watch party, not at our house.
cool.
That's always best.
Usually.
Awesome. Well, I'm Bill Brandmeier. I am the co-lead of the sports sector, and excited to welcome Natalie to the team. And I've been working with Robin and Shelley for the past 2 years, bringing us together on a regular basis to try to help promote the use of sports and physical activity, and certainly feel like we're driving this thing forward. Excited about what's about to happen with this sector and with the whole Kansas City Physical Activity Plan. We will
Please say you're going to Phoenix, Bill.
No, I'm not going to Phoenix. We will be hosting here in Kansas City, and I've made it a point that as long as my mother-in-law is alive, I'm going to watch the football games with her. So she's part of the superstition of the whole thing for me. So my father-in-law and my mother-in-law always hosted and always they were huge Chiefs fans, and so as part of the legacy, I just carry that on, that where we make sure that we're together when we watch, especially the Super Bowl. So that's what I'll be doing.
Awesome.
And I'm going to introduce Tammy. Tammy works with ShareWaves, and she is my really director of partnerships and is involved in helping me in the day-to-day operations of everything that we're doing. And she's going to join us from now on to keep track of all the calendar dates that we're setting and making sure that I'm where I'm supposed to be with my involvement with Kansas City Physical Activity Plan. So Tammy, will you introduce yourself? And let everybody know what you're doing for the Super Bowl.
Hi all, I'm Tammy. Like Bill said, I work with Bill and ShareWaves. For the Super Bowl, I am going to a watch party. I think like everyone else is in the city. So very excited about that. My dad's flying in for it. And yeah, that's why I'm here, is to keep Bill on his toes. That's about it.
Cool. I'll go next. So my name is Robin Shook, Associate Professor at Children's Mercy, Director of the Kansas City Healthy Lifestyles Collaborative, which is backbone org for the KCPA plan. We are replicating what we did 3 years ago for the Super Bowl. So same people coming over, we're trying to replicate the same foods. Just because I guess it was 2 years ago, we didn't, and we know how that, or we know how it turned out when we didn't do this. So we're trying to recreate everything. So it's going to be a somewhat quiet affair, but hopefully, you know, what we do in our living room pushes the Chiefs over the finish line. So I'll call on Ryan. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ryan Latta with Lenexa Parks and Recreation. I'm the sport supervisor over here. And I was thinking about going either downtown to Power and Light, or just hanging with my roommates and watching our plays. So not sure yet what I'm gonna do.
Power and Light would be a fun place to be.
Yeah.
I'll go next. I'm Mitch
Yeah.
with KC Crew. I'm the league director over here with the adult sports and special events and stuff. I'm going over to a friend's house who just got a brand new house, my college roommate. So he invited all of us friends over to watch it.
Cool. Thanks for joining us, Mitch. I know you got a lot going on, but appreciate it.
Go next. I'm Sarah. I'm a physical therapist at Children's Mercy. I was just involved in a lot of adapted sports stuff in St. Louis. So I'm just coming on these meetings. And I am going to be flying back from Chicago, but hopefully watching at a watch party too in Kansas City. So let's hope we have no weather delays.
Awesome. Yeah, Greg, I think you're it. You're final.
Is it me, Rob?
Yeah, I think you're it.
All right, perfect. So I'm Greg Canty. I'm the medical director of sports medicine at Children's Mercy, and I am happy to participate in this group when the opportunity presents itself. And I will be watching the Super Bowl with my family and 3 young girls. So the noise level here will probably be louder than it is at the stadium. So because they're all inviting friends and a couple of neighborhood families over. So we expect to, you know, hopefully like Robin, bring home a victory and recreate what we did just a few years ago. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Jay, I don't know. Jay, we were just doing quick introductions with Super Bowl plans, if you have a minute.
Super Bowl plans. Oh, here, hold on. My camera is not up. Oh, still not up. There we go. It's working, sort of. Jay Robertson. I do sports medicine at Children's Mercy along with Greg there. We are partners here. And my Super Bowl plans are currently in flux. My brother has a party planned, and but it's no kids, and my wife says we got to bring the kids. So I don't know. I don't know which one I'm gonna do. I don't know if I'm gonna stay home with everybody or if I'm gonna go to the party. I haven't decided yet.
You and your kids are welcome at my house, Jay.
Okay, all right, we can do that. They're well behaved. Everybody's been sick this week, but other than that, yeah.
Well,
Here's a suggestion. Put them in a cab, send them down to Power and Light. You go to your party, they go to Power and Light. Ryan can look after them.
yeah, right. I can watch them.
Oh, no promises, man.
I like that idea.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Yeah. Next, Natalie, what do you got here? I guess maybe I can take this one since I've have few updates, but so for those that weren't able to make our last meeting, we submitted a proposal. Well, first of all, Aspen Institute has given us a draft agreement that includes project play report starting. I think April is the date of that the project would begin, and it would continue for about 10 months. So it would conclude around January 2024. It would include 2 parts. One is original and secondary data analysis on the current state of play in Kansas City. And then I guess I should say 3 parts. Second part is the 1-day summit that would be hosted It's tentatively in January 2024. Day-long summit where we would bring together as many stakeholders as we can in this sector to talk about the findings from the report, and Aspen Institute will come up with clear next steps for what is needed in Kansas City to create safe and equitable opportunities for sports participation for our kids. And then the final piece is the actual report itself. And that would be, it's unclear whether it would be finalized at that last meeting or whether there would just be a draft and the final report come later. So total cost of the project is going to be about $90,000. I think 85, maybe $85,000. We submitted a proposal to Children's Mercy to cover some or all of the costs for the project. We expect to hear, I honestly thought I would have heard now. I expect to hear maybe later this week. If not, I mean, I would expect it this week, maybe next week at the latest, but we should hear very, very soon as to whether it will receive any funding. At the same time, we're moving forward with potential asks. And at this point, we don't know exactly what the ask would be. It could be of stakeholders. It would be one of two things or both. One is a financial support. Two would be serving on what they call, Aspen calls a stakeholder advisory group, or both of those. And so obviously the financial support would be contingent on what we hear from Children's Mercy. And then, yeah. I know we're going to talk about the list of stakeholders that we want to invite here in just a second, so Natalie can get that queued up. The only other thing that I'll add is that I've reached out to the Aspen Institute about if they had any guidance on what we should be, when we're making our pitch to potential stakeholders, what we should include. For example, I mentioned this advisory group. I don't have really any details on what that includes. We know that it's about 20.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a question. I'm presenting on Project Adam tomorrow, and Adam had ARVC, and I just want to give a very quick, this is what it is. How do you feel about this photo I found online? And this is what I'm going to say about it. That's all I'm going to say. I just want to make sure I'm not a complete idiot in front of everybody.
I'm confused, Sarah. What exactly are you doing?
Caitlin,
Oh,
is that
shit.
you?
Who's sharing?
I'm so sorry, you guys.
That's it.
Yeah, no problem. We've all thought we were muted when we weren't. We'd love to hear your pitch though, if you so I was talking about the stakeholder advisory group, since this is part of what we would be asking potential stakeholders to serve on. We know that it's about 25 people, but we don't know any other details beyond that in terms of, is this a one-time thing? Is this something where they're going to meet, every month throughout the project to guide decisions? So I'm waiting to hear back on that type of information, which, is kind of vital as we make the pitch. So from our perspective, I think we can talk about this list that Natalie's pulled up. And then once we get that information, we'll be able to, we can start scheduling meetings with some of these people. The last thing I'll add is, thanks to Bill, we already have made one pitch to the Kansas City Royals. We hope to hear, I think, about in the next couple weeks. They said early February as well, for what their funding decisions might be. So I'll open up for questions. regarding any of that process. And at the same time, Natalie's showing kind of the stakeholders that we've been assembling. So
I'm excited that you got to meet with the Royals. Was it just you and Amanda? Was Lewis involved? And
yeah, it was Lewis and I. We just had a phone call for about an hour. So I mentioned I didn't have like a slide deck or anything with some of that info about the specifics of the project, about the Aspen Institute project. So we mostly talked kind of big picture what the sports sector is doing, and then a little bit specifically about Project Play. He had some really good questions. I followed up with some additional information, and
I love it.
yeah, it was good.
So I guess my
that
question is,
connection.
do we need a deck? Do we need a pitch deck? And I've kind of been waiting on the response from Children's Mercy. Is your gut telling you that Children's Mercy is going to do a portion and not the whole? Or is your gut telling you that they're going to do it all?
It's really hard to tell. This is a new fund that I'm not aware of what they've funded in the past, and there's no way of knowing what they funded in the past. They don't list it. That being said, I was encouraged by people to apply for it, which is always a good sign. And the follow-up questions that they had on the application were extremely straightforward and seemed to me like they were just, Children's Mercy never wants to like hire new employees. They wanted to ensure that like we're not hiring new staff to do this thing. So my sense is that we'll get some funding for it.
Okay.
How much, I don't know.
And so that leads me to my next question. If there is a shortfall or a gap that needs to be made up, what is our plan to move forward with the kinds of requests that you made with Royals Charities? And is it necessary to put together a one-pager or a pitch slide deck of 2 or 3 slides that help explain what it is that we're trying to do? And do we want to try to over raise for this opportunity so that we have some money in the, I mean, it's such a galvanizing opportunity for not only just the sports sector of the Kansas City Physical Activity Plan, but really for the whole plan, to really elevate it. If we are able to secure this community report, I'm not sure we all know the gravity of what it means, but I've been contemplating it for about two and a half years now. And I think it is it is an opportunity for us to elevate this whole plan with the help of Aspen.
Well, I kind of like the idea of over raising money for it, because then if people have committed money, then they're definitely commit to being part of the group.
Right.
So if you go back home and say, hey, we actually didn't need that much money, but let's keep this conversation going. Maybe we create a fund just for the Sports Alliance or whatever we end up calling it.
I think you're right.
I've forgotten the cool acronym I came up with 2-3 months ago, whatever. Hopefully Katie or Shelly has it somewhere. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, to me, that sounds like if you've committed money, you're guaranteed to commit your time or your voice.
And I just think that when I look at this list, getting in front of Jake Reed at Sporting KC, or getting in front of, the Longs at KC Current, or getting in front of Ann Scharf and Mark Donovan at the Kansas City Chiefs, and getting in front of Kathy Nelson, obviously, Tom Watson, Patrick Mahomes, Jesus. I mean, this, like I said, elevates this whole opportunity for not just our sector, for all the sectors. So I think this is something that definitely needs to be leveraged as we, think about what the mass media group is trying to do, and what we're trying to do with Parks and Rec, what we're trying to do with the schools, churches, businesses, all of the different things that are happening. I think this is one of those moments in time where we all just need to kind of think about how we want to participate in telling the story of what Kansas City Physical Activity Plan is trying to do here. And not lose sight of the 4 years of hard work that Robin and his team have put together for this thing.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you guys said. One logistical question for the Children's Mercy people. We've never been successful in creating just like a general account. We've always had designated accounts. For example, the Aspen Institute project account, where it has a finite, level that money can be put into from specific donors. But we've never been able to have just like hey, here's an account. You want to put 10 grand, you can put 10 grand in here, you can put 15 grand in, and just have it to be like a general fund. So is anyone?
So I've got an idea on that, actually. So we have a sports medicine endowment that Kevin Latz set up a while back, and it's not really the purpose of the endowment, but I think it could be utilized in that way. So people could just donate to that directly, and then we could pay out of that if we got the funds that we could make up for whatever the grant you're applying for doesn't pay for. That's one possibility, but we've got that, and it's sports, and it's Children's Mercy. I mean, it's all kind of labeled right. I mean, we'd have to talk to Kevin, and Greg might have other thoughts on that, but that would be a potential temporary housing for some money.
The other thing that's possible, Robin, is probably, something that, may, obviously dealing with Children's Mercy, you have to jump through the right hoops, but we can establish an account at the Kansas City Community Foundation that money goes into for the purposes of promoting the Kansas City Physical Activity Plan. So, but I think that there are some workarounds, just like Jay was saying, and if there's already an endowment within sports medicine at Children's Mercy, and the funds can automatically go into that, and those funds, can be designated to be used to promote sports and physical activity in Kansas City, then that makes sense too.
Hey, Robin, it can be a little tricky. And so I like Bill's idea sometimes of it being outside of Children's Mercy and the Community Foundation. So I have you can also set up accounts that are restricted funds at Children's Mercy. And so I have a restricted fund account that people have donated over the years for game and event coverage that I then have access to use specifically for sports medicine educational ventures within the community. And so you can set up, and so the way that's done in my restricted account is, and that the money can only be spent with my permission. And so you would probably want to set up something like that if you're going to look to do that, and designate who has the capability to release those funds. But I could put you in touch with the people who send me an email on a monthly basis saying how much money remains in that account. And it's changed some over the years, but I can dig it up for you. And they may be able to give you some more information. This was set up over a decade ago, and
Yeah.
I'm too old and lost too much hair over the years to remember exactly how we did it in the beginning, but I'm sure they can answer your questions or help guide you if that's even possible. We'll have a restricted fund account for the purposes that you just described.
Well, that's good to know that you could use that account in that way, because we have a TR account right now. That's where that's where the funds have come that fund the KCPA plan. It was, I guess I never asked more questions. We've always just gotten funding from the Kemper Foundation. So it's called like the Kemper Foundation, but I think what I hear you saying is it's not necessarily restricted to just that funder. It should, because it's the Kemper Foundation KCPA plan. It really should just be KCPA plan that Kemper, Chiefs, Royals, Longs, whoever can put into.
Correct. That sounds a little bit about the way ours was done, or the way that I did
Okay.
mine when I was doing sideline and event coverage, is I wanted to establish something and people could donate to that fund. And then, like I said, we set parameters up as to how that money got used, because there were stories of those funds disappearing if they weren't used. And so
Yeah.
you might make sure it's clear who has access for releasing those funds.
Cool, good. All right, well, thanks everyone for being patient with that logistical stuff. I'll do some digging on the TR account and then some of these others as a backup, but it sounds like that issue is definitely solvable, so.
The only other thing I would say, I would want to ask this group here, is there anybody who is interested in helping raise money for the Kansas City Physical Activity Plan and helping raise money for the Aspen Institute's Project Play community report? And if you do have a desire to be part of those kinds of conversations where we're out in the community talking with these people on this list or other people that we add to this list, we would love to incorporate your thoughts and your passion and your desire into those meetings so that you get a chance to share your hopes for this. I just wanted to open that up to the team, and if there's anybody there that wants to help be a part of it, then open the door for that.
That's a great point, Bill. And like, maybe we can even do something like, if people can't be there during like a pitch or something, we can like do short recordings or something and build that in, just because you're right. We've got such a broad diversity of groups here that we should, that presentation should reflect that.
I agree. You know, to have representation of the sports medicine team, you know, with Jay and Dr. Canty, and then also have, you know, the Casey Crew, the lead Casey Crew guy there, those would be great, powerful messages to be able to share with potential donors.
And
I'm happy to talk with anybody, anytime I'm not at work, so.
And, you know, to Bill's kind of point, that when in these discussions with the Aspen Institute, you know, they are really good at identifying what's unique and special about a given region. And one of those things that has come up in multiple conversations is like this transition from youth sports to adult sports. And when I tell them about KC Corporate Challenge, and when I tell them about KC Crew and some of the other adult leagues, their eyes get really big and they get really excited, because this is like, you know, one of the things, like youth sports participation, you know, peaks at about 10 years old and then gradually declines as you age. And there are unique opportunities at multiple points, including the transition into adulthood and into adulthood, where there are opportunities within the region to be a model for how other cities can get everybody to be active in sports.
Love it.
The one thing that I just wanted to comment, and we can talk maybe a little bit more about this list, is I think we're missing some of the large youth sports leagues. And my child is not at that age yet, so I'm not particularly well informed about all of the players. But I know, for example, Home Field has multiple locations throughout the city that get a lot of kids.
I've
Go ahead.
told Nick Garcia about this, and so Brookside Soccer definitely wants to be involved with this whole project. I don't know if they have any money to spend on it, but they want to be involved.
I agree. I think Heartland Soccer and Shane Hackett would want to be on that list. I can help. The YMCA probably has a need to be represented. And we can talk about some other, I haven't put any of my names on this list, so maybe I can work separately with Natalie to update this list with some other names that might include those youth sports organizations that we've engaged with. I think it would be good to have athletic directors like Mickey Masterson and Tammy, I'm forgetting her last name, but she's the athletic director for Casey, Kansas Public Schools. Tammy, I'll think of it, but
Yeah, Adrian's mentioned her before, I think, too.
yeah, and then there are a couple of other groups that I think would be, you wouldn't think that they'd be interested, but they probably will be. So I can put my head around it, maybe work with Natalie to add some more.
Yeah. Are there any of the so home field is one that I'm aware of. There's Sporting KC has a couple complexes, so we have them. Are there any others? Like I know there's the Shields rec fields in Overland Park. I guess they're in Overland
Yes.
Park.
Yeah,
There's the Paragon Stars going in Lee Summit.
Paragons. Okay, that's a new one. Do you
There's
have
a
a
couple-
contact by any chance there? Or?
Yes, I do.
there's a few nonprofits we probably should be involved. Global FC is a soccer group up in the Northeast. Toka FC is in KCK. Toka TOCA. I think the Freedom Hoops would be good to have as a part of this. And there, you mentioned the adult opportunities that the Casey crew is doing the basketball on Fridays, and I think it's Mitch.
Yeah. We have like our pickup basketball. It's on Friday mornings at Hy-Vee Arena
Yeah, there's 50 or 60
Yep.
people showing up for those
Yeah.
things.
at 6:30 in the
Really?
morning. Yeah,
It's really cool.
Mitch there's another Mitch that works with us in KC Crew that runs all our pickup stuff.
Okay.
So he's involved with that, but I know a lot about that. And Robin, that is it's Paragon instead of it's O, just so if you're looking it up and stuff, I can get you contact for that one. We're running some adult sports down there at Paragon Star. And then there's the Western Missouri Soccer League up north where we're going to be running some adult sports as well. I know it was the owner of the KC Comets. He just purchased those fields. So he's expanding youth sports
I think
sports and stuff.
the Catholic Youth League, CYO, I think it's called, or CYT, it's Catholic.
Yes, I know someone from that too. Stonewall Sports.
Mhm.
That's another they have big kickball leagues and stuff.
And then we haven't even touched on some of the other sports like tennis and gymnastics and dance, and there's, obviously the list is exhaustive of all the small little nonprofits and for-profits that are trying to make a difference.
Does anyone know any adaptive sports organizations?
I think the School of the Deaf is interested. Definitely, they want to use sports to help connect their kids, and they've got some really phenomenal programs that they've done. Obviously, Variety.
Yeah.
There's the Midwest Adaptive Sports here. They're here in Hy-Vee Arena as well. Another office out of here. They do rugby and basketball here in Hy-Vee Arena.
And then the Whole Person, we've engaged with them several times. They're on several different sectors of the Kansas City Physical Activity Plan. And they have a really strong voice. And then Variety is Deborah Wybrick. And then the Challenger, YMCA Challenger, is another adaptive group.
I thought Mark Fisher had been invited to these meetings before. I think he's on the list, but I think he'd be the ideal person to kind of help spearhead some of those, because I know he's in contact with those folks frequently. He's our rehab medicine doctor who does the adaptive sports here at Children's Mercy.
And then let's put Tony Temple on there with his animal movements and what he's doing at these elementary schools throughout Kansas City. I think it's important to have him on there.
Yeah, Mark has been coming to some of the, well, Shelley's been working with him on some of the other sectors, I think, so.
Is
um,
Robin, and this is, and I'm not trying to force anything, but is the mass media sector ready for us to come to them and ask them for help?
So we've got, yeah, great question. We've got an agreement with Overflow Communications to create, it's going to be a several month plan where they're going to do strategy develop, redo strategy develop, and develop content and come up with content and a content distribution plan. And we are just in a holding pattern. It's with Children's Mercy lawyers right now to get signed. So they're ready to go. I think it's probably going to align pretty closely with the Aspen Institute work, I think, in terms of when that starts. You know, it's probably going to take the rest of February to get the agreement signed, and then in March, we'll probably start with the strategy development. And so that will involve reaching out to the different sectors to get involved with that. So long story short, not quite ready, but we're getting there.
A couple of other names for this list, Natalie. Mammoth Sports is a construction company that is involved in youth sports across the city, and there would be bricks and mortar kind of build, and they're super philanthropic. You know, Mike Deepasquale is giving money to youth sports all over the place. I think it'd be interesting to have him look at this, or at least his marketing team look at this.
What was his name again?
Deepasquale, Mike Deepasquale. Mike's got this.
Mike's got this.
Yeah.
You haven't seen those commercials?
I actually met him the other day and talked to him about this because he was awarded at the Kansas City Sports, no, the NAIA Champions of Character thing, and I talked to him there about this kind of stuff, and he thought it sounded cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how much money he donated or whatever, but yeah,
he's spending money everywhere.
he's got it.
Yeah, Deepasquale is Quale, somewhere within
Mike's my partner.
DIPAS.
PAS. There it is. There it is. Okay.
Mike has a partner too. His partner is Jason Morey, is my former next door neighbor. So if you all think Mike and his firm would be interested, I'd be happy to
Awesome.
talk with Jason a little bit about it. Mike is the face, but they are they're partners. So
Okay. I love that. I think, I don't know how you guys feel about the sports medicine group at KU and if you're in competition with them, but I feel like we might want to have them involved, but I don't want to play politics, but I think KU sports medicine.
I think KU has, if they're not involved, I think there's maybe people on here who wouldn't be involved.
Right.
So, I don't care about it from politics and all that kind of stuff. Their new director of orthopedics, or the current interim chair, is one of my classmates, and
Okay,
I can kind of have a conversation with Paul Schreppel about that.
that'd be good.
And it's a good point. And one thing that actually came up with the Royals, because KU Med is obviously affiliated with the Royals. And my answer to that is our center that we're with the Center for Children's Healthy Lifestyles is actually a joint partnership between Children's Mercy and KU Med Center. So I'm technically get my paycheck from Children's Mercy, but I have courtesy appointments at KU Med. And so I've kind of made it clear that while, we're housing money and we're on the Children's Mercy campus, we represent both institutions are considered kind of state backbones organizations for the plan and the sports sector.
The Kansas City Monarchs can go on here too, and obviously, they're on there. So yeah, my brother Mark is the owner, so I'll
Can you
twist
get
his
us
arm.
meeting, Bill?
Mark Brandmeier.
Great.
And
Well,
with the
this is-
Jayhawks, I think our contact with the Jayhawks is Jason Booker.
We can follow up after this meeting if you want, Bill.
Say what?
I said we can follow up after this meeting if you want, because I'm sure
Okay,
you'll know.
that'd be good,
at least
Natalie.
someone.
I'm ready to move on. I'm sorry. I was just doing a brain dump.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's good to refine this list, and as I get more information, hopefully soon from the Aspen Institute, we've had several back and forths about what exactly information we're looking for. Hopefully we'll get more details on this advisory group, because that's gonna be a definite thing we're gonna ask people to be on. And then, of course, the money piece too. So obviously, we've got a big list. They all can't be on the advisor group, so we can refine that as it gets a little closer.
On me.
Natalie, maybe you have another tab that's the advisor list, and we can move people from the money list to the advisor list.
Yeah.
okay.
Speaking of money, we do have $12,500 guaranteed for this, and that is from the larger Kansas City Physical Activity Plan that award that we received over the summer. So as we've talked, we're all planning on using that $12,500 for the Aspen Institute project. We do need to formalize it with the what we call the core work group of the Kansas City Physical Activity Plan. They approve all of the these implementation projects. So Natalie has been preparing an application that will be reviewed by the core work group in March. That is the formal release of the funds. Now, I just want to be clear, I don't anticipate any member of the core work group saying, no, we're not going to award you these funds. But we did want to share this. Natalie has worked on this application, so we just wanted to share it with this group quickly at this meeting before we submit it on to the core work group. So Natalie, I'll let you take that over.
Is that like the UN Security Council? If one vote goes against you, is it out? Does it have to be unanimous?
It does not have to be unanimous. I think we do majority, right? I think it's technically what we do.
I don't know.
Yeah,
We probably make an exception. if
we
you're
would
in the inside
probably
to
make
it.
it. Yeah,
At the top, I just put what we were asking for and took some information from the Aspen Institute website, kind of explaining how it will form a coalition with community stakeholders and accumulate a report and help us identify gaps, and then provide their suggestions on like how to move forward in action steps and best practice. And then the second question is about our strategies and tactics. I found these three that aligned with our Alliance implementation subgroup. And then the tactics under these three, I think, relate to this ask. This one that I have highlighted in yellow, I wasn't sure if that one applied. I was thinking about taking that one out. I think eventually it might become a result of forming this community group, but I don't think it necessarily applies to this like specific ask just to do the report. So I might take that one out if you think.
I think that probably makes sense, yeah.
And then as far as the system levels, I kind of had like a similar question. Like it's obviously this one where you use the Aspen Institute as the example, but for the other three, I think it's like got the potential to help with how we maybe do a project for the built environment down the road or organizing local policy, but I don't know if that necessarily applied just to do the report ask. The one I thought about leaving in additionally was the individual and interpersonal behavior knowledge, because it would be acquiring some of those knowledge and data that we would be sharing with the participants in the community groups that are part of the Alliance group. Robin, do you have any feedback on those?
Yeah, I
Which
think
one?
you're right. So like the policy is another one that clearly is down the line. I think, you know, that's an example, you know, pay what you can, sports leagues, that's come up several times. Probably won't come directly from this, but down the line. So
Okay. And then I know we get more points on the application if we work with other sectors. I know there's people on our sports group that are involved in Parks and Rec already, so I put them on there, but I didn't. You mentioned mass media today earlier, Bill did, so should I add that one in there?
I think so. And I think the schools
yeah, exactly.
and Parks and Rec, yeah, schools, Parks and Rec and mass media, for sure.
And well, looks like we got several people from healthcare, so healthcare probably.
Yep, healthcare for sure. And Adrian's a pastor, so we could put churches.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
What can I just am asking a clarifying question here. What would those sectors do related to this project? Do they ask, does the Aspen Institute ask for their?
Well, I will say that the schools is going to be a main format for how they collect some of the data. They often work in schools to get kids to fill out surveys, so that's an obvious one. Parks and Rec, obviously, because like, I mean, Ryan, you know, is delivering sports programs through Parks and Rec.
So most of them are accessing, either accessing data or completing the surveys, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think informing, you know, us on the landscape of how they're using physical activity within their sectors to impact kids and play within.
Well, the only reason I'm bringing it up is because with other applications that have been reviewed, the question was, you list these sectors here, but there's not much clarity about what they would do and what their involvement would be. So I think that enhances your application if you just add that little piece, like
Okay.
the Aspen report already asks for schools to be involved. They'll already be working with them, like in whatever ways. They'll be working with Parks and Rec to access their data and include it. And I would probably leave out faith-based settings.
Okay.
Simply because I don't know what they would do specifically related to the report.
Gotcha.
Healthcare, though, I think if I remember from some of the other cities' reports, they include, you know, like player safety as some of the things that they assess and for next steps.
Cool.
Yeah, and mass media, I would just say, you know, communicating findings to community members, to other organizations. You know, we've got a nice long list of stakeholders that I think we could have kept going, you know. There's so many different people that are involved with it that communicating is going to be key. Yeah.
That fifth question is kind of, I don't know, I feel like I kind of like, it's a little loose with this one.
Well, and I think we kind of talked about it inadvertently as earlier today with, you know, making these kind of financial asks. And, you know, even if we can get, with the anticipation that we'll get more funds that are needed for the Aspen Institute report, and that can lead us to further implementation of the Aspen Institute itself, if that makes sense. You know, because like the Aspen Institute report, if you haven't read one of their reports recently, you know, they do a really nice job of identifying their next steps for the region. And so a lot of that is going to be, you know, dependent on resources. So we'll already kind of be hopefully accumulating some.
Okay. I know in one of like the past core meetings when we were reviewing applications, we asked them like, how would funding continue? But this project would just be like a one-time report. So I don't think we really need to elaborate on that. I guess I could state it.
Yeah. I do kind of anticipate though, you know, like we said, hopefully, you know, people get involved, and as new resources are required, they can, you know, help make that possible. I guess it is a good question we could talk with the Aspen Institute about. Is I'm not entirely clear. Like I think back to the Seattle project, they identify, you know, they created a new group, basically, the Play Equity Group. I don't know if like they talked about funding as they were doing their Aspen Institute report, or if they completed the report, then did a separate fundraising just for that. You know, I don't know how that works. It's a good question though.
I think it anchors a fundraising ask after the report is done based on the results. That's what I've anticipated happening. That's when we can look at some of the other community reports that have been done and talk about what their communities have done with the report after it's over. But it anchors institutional requests for funding, and it also anchors public support and public requests for funding, because you have this qualitative and quantitative data to be able to support the work that we're doing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
When I first talked to Jessica Blueblau about this Project Play report, we both agreed that it would go in our grant requests every single time as evidence of what's happening in our city with our kids.
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
Anything else, Natalie, on this?
No, I don't think so. I'll fiddle around with that list.
Great. I just looked, we're almost at time. So do we have other agenda items?
I think we could probably table the Calvary University update until Adrian's here at our next meeting, maybe.
Okay.
We're meeting with her, I guess, I don't know what her title is, but Coach Reader on Thursday. So we'll have more to follow up probably at the next meeting.
Let me know if you need anything from me on that, obviously. I'm here to help.
Okay, great. And as far as other updates, the registration is open for the corporate challenge. So I'm sure Shelley would like us to get signed up. For our companies. And then our next meeting is also on the 8th of March. Does anyone have any other organizations they wanted to share?
I mean, is there a way to have that kind of stakeholder list somewhere that people can just add to, some sort of link? I guess you think about it.
Yeah, I sent it in the newsletter last month, but I can put it in this one as well.
But it's sorry, I didn't write that. Is it a fully, like, anyone can edit it? Who has
Yeah, it's
access
just
to
a
it?
Google Doc that's open
Cool.
access. Yeah.
Awesome.
Great. Well, thanks, everybody. Like I said, I'm checking my email, like constantly waiting for word from Children's Mercy. So hopefully we hear something soon. I'll let you guys know right away. Likewise, maybe what we can be doing is for the March meeting, we'll have we'll try to have like a short presentation slide deck that we can share with the group done. And of course, we'll probably be, I guess, probably reaching out in between to specific people about, contributions or review of some of the things were in there. Some of it's dependent, like I said, on what we hear back from Aspen Institute, but likewise, we also want, to get a full encompassment of the group's feedback and interests. So cool.
Okay. I'll
Thanks,
stop the
everybody.
recording.